So my name is Carlos Walker, and this is Forward Progress. And this is my partner that I just met recently. His name is Rasan Thomas. And Mr. Thomas, if you will, share a little bit of information about who you are and how much time you actually done, and then we'll get into the interview.
I'm Rasan New York Thomas. I'm a writer, podcast producer, a director of films, a social justice warrior, and a formerly incarcerated man from Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York, currently living in California. I served 22 years of a 55 life sentence.
So before we get into that, I do want to ask you a quick question. What was your past like before prison?
I was trying to be a square, make computer games at 16, had jobs, Sprint Messenger Service, Pan Am Reservations, Double Voice and Plimpton's. But I lived in the neighborhood that lacked resources, and it imploded on each other. I grew up during the Reagan trickle-down theory era where nothing trickled down to the hood. My community is 21 housing projects in one area. So it's poverty packed on top of poverty. And, when people feel small, they chop off the heads of others so they can feel tall. And I was upper class poor in this neighborhood, awkward, hella light skin looking. And so I fought a lot, always had courage. And so I would take a lot of fades. But also I took things really personal. When somebody attacked me, I couldn't see they're projecting their own insecurities and weaknesses. I thought, something was inadequate in me. Why they keep picking me? And so I wanted to prove myself. And I thought that violence was a way to do that. And so I would take these fades and it just escalated from there. Then next thing you know, I'm stabbing people. Next thing you know, my brother gets shot and I ran. And I was like, oh, that's never going to happen again. I started carrying a gun and led to a lifestyle, led to a life sentence.
So I'm assuming, how did you get your life sentence? If you don't mind me asking.
I killed somebody. I mean,
okay.
I got my life sentence. I mean, I don't understand the question.
No. You just.
The reason why I said it is that question is kind of crazy to me because it's just a complicated question, right? Like I committed a crime, of course, but.
No, I didn't know exactly what crime. And the viewers, they didn't know exactly what crime.
Yeah.
So,
but that's why I say it's a complicated question. Are we our crimes? Is that who I am? You know what I mean?
No, not at all.
And then when you take the crime out of context, right? Like the crime, I killed 2 people who were armed with semi-automatic weapons in the process of robbing me for a bag of marijuana.
Defend yourself.
Right. I shouldn't be in that position. I shouldn't be selling drugs. I shouldn't have been there with a gun. But it's more complicated than just murder, right? It's True. More complicated than all of that. Like, it's just so much more complicated. And I feel like when young Black men or people that's formerly incarcerated, we lead with our crimes. But every senator in this country has committed a crime.
Most definitely.
And we don't ask them to lead with that. We don't ask people to pour out their worst moments, right? We meet people at face value, right? We judge them by the suit they got on or whatever. We don't dig into their past. We don't dig into the crates. We don't. I tell this story all the time. When I was like 10 years old, I made my mama a cake, and it came out horrible. It was a bad cake. I didn't make good cake. I was 10. What the hell you want from me? But nobody considers me a baker because I never baked another cake. And so I don't want to be considered by my crime. I'm a Rasan New York Thomas. I'm a writer, a podcaster, social justice advocate. My experiences, they come in handy because they get youth to listen to me. And in that context, it's lovely. But I don't want to constantly be reminded or labeled by something that's in the past. And no disrespect to the people I harmed, utmost remorse and sympathy and sorrow. But at the same time, I'm not that person anymore.
No, that is true. That's the reason why this is called Forward Progress. Because what I do, I want to shed light on, yes, I see the butterfly. I see who you are now. But in order to understand the progress of the caterpillar and how it became the butterfly, I have to at least get down there to show them where we are at now. Because they can see who you are, what you're doing, the podcaster, all this stuff. But if they never know what the caterpillars went through, then they never get to understand how you made it to where you've gotten, how the accomplishments is going that you're about to tell us about, being the podcaster, writing, where all these things, all these gifts arrived or derived from.
But
That's
I
the reason
think
why.
that I feel you.
That's
That
the
makes
reason why
sense
I
to
asked that
me.
question.
But that makes sense to me. But I would also say I'm born in Brownsville. Just make it out of Brownsville is a miracle. Like, come on,
No,
bro.
no, that's
That's enough
true.
of a caterpillar story. Sheesh. You ever been
Yeah,
to Brownsville?
that no.
Sheesh. It's one of the
So,
few neighborhoods in Brooklyn that's still like that. You know what I mean? The rest of
mhm,
New York was Brooklyn's gone. It's la la land. It's gentrified. Brownsville's still Brownsville.
I got
It's
it.
just different. You know what I mean? That's enough of a struggle, baby. I made it from that. And let's talk about that.
That is true.
I
So,
mean, 70% chance of going to prison, man. You know what I mean?
so
20 some 30% chance of getting murdered. I made it through all that. I'm here now, baby. I'm back. Let's go. Forward
that is
progress. That's what you
true.
said, right?
Hold on, but I got to look. I got to go into the prison system.
Uh,
I got to get this part of it because I can't get to the forward progress until we get to where you were to what the caterpillar went through or what you went through to get there
mhm.
to the man that you are today. That's the only reason why I'm asking these questions. So, 22 years in prison. In that 22 years, share a little bit of your experience because the experience is what's going to help people understand the things that you accomplished while you was there.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff that you shared with me that you accomplished. That's the part that I need to know where the progress started and then how you became to get here to where we at
So
now.
yeah, the progress started before I ever got locked up. I was just tired of violence, bro. I was like, here I am, this I don't know if you want to say thug legend. I don't know what to call it. But here I am, this dude that like victorious in violence, so to speak, right? And it wasn't getting me nowhere. You know what I mean? It was just escalating more violence, making me live a life where um I felt I needed to be armed all the time, watch my back, always on the run from the cops. It wasn't a good life. And so I was tired of it. I wanted a way out. But at the same time, I didn't know a way out. I believe that, how can you put down your gun after so much violence? Just because you say you're retired, nobody might forgive you or forget that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have faith in God at the time. And so I just needed a way out. When I got the multiple life sentence, it just kind of was like, wow. I vowed I would never be like my father, that I'd always be there for my kids. And now I was worse than my father. I wasn't ever going to be able to see my kids again. I thought, by the time I got to see them, they adults now. So damn sure never got to see them as kids again and never got to visit because of the distance. And so while I was inside, I started thinking about, well, I messed up this life. This life is over with. And so now it's about not messing up eternity, the next life. And I started seeking God. I started going to all services, Christian services, Islamic services. And ironically, my name Rasan kind of predicted that I would end up becoming Muslim. What happened was when I got this Calipatra, a level 4 maximum security prison, the brothers checked the list. They look for Muslims because it's a world that's kind of violent and everybody runs like by race or car or gang or affiliation. And so the brothers protect their own. They also protect non-affiliates. If you're not in a gang and you live a straight life, they will look out for you. And so when they heard my name was Rasan, they was like, yo, brother, the Muslims on 2 block. We're going to move you to 2 block. I'm like, bro, I'm run by myself, man. I'm not Muslim. They're like, all right, brother, we're going to move you to 2 block. I said, brother, I'm not your brother. I'm not Muslim, man. You know what I mean? Somehow they moved me to 2 block anyway. And I'm like, what does wrong with these dudes? And there's times that, I felt like guys were scheming on me. And I have this way of like playing my squareness to the fullest because I hate bullies. And so I'll let you think I'm a square, then I ran with the heavyweight boxing champ of the world. You're gonna see a different side. You try me, right? That's how I was moving back then, kind of, initiating violence passively, aggressively. Um, and so one day I felt they were scheming on me and asked me who I run with, because in California, you can't touch a person of another car without permission. It's
Mm-hmm.
complicated. But if you run alone, and so I'm like, I run by myself, bro. You know what I mean? So I came back the next day expecting some drama, expecting them to try me. And when one of them came over there, another was like, nah, don't mess with him, bro. He with the Muslims. I'm like, I'm not with the Muslims, bro. I am not with the Muslims. But in my search for God, in my search for hope, in my search for to get through a 55 to life sentence, you got to believe in something, man. You got to have hope. If you have no hope in the next life, if you have no hope in this life, then you'll move a different way. And so in my search for God, Islam seemed like the path for me. So I became a Muslim in 2011 after I left Calipatria. I was still prideful. Like, I don't want nobody to think that, oh, you a Muslim now because you're in a level 4 prison. I waited till I got to a nice prison where it's nice and comfortable. You know what I mean? Nobody cares who you ran with, you know? But along the same lines, I also wanted hope and like having an impact on the outside.
Okay.
And I came up with writing. I came up with writing because under the Constitution, your voice is still free. And so I envisioned being like a New York Times bestselling author, writing my book From Guns to God, and getting youth in the neighborhoods to understand what's really going on and drop their guns, and having, a different understanding of how to address crime other than bullets and handcuffs. And I wrote this book without mentorship, without knowing I was doing, without being educated, no MFA degree, no college degree, just a high school diploma, just a desire to write. I didn't know what to ask people for as far as craft because they weren't writers, and they didn't know what to give me because they weren't writers. But I wrote anyway. I arrived at San Quentin State Prison in 2013 after my custody level dropped to level 2 after writing on my own for 10 years. It took me 13 years to get there all together. And I arrived with a 250,000 word book that was really trash. So you'll never
Doesn't matter.
find From Guns
You
to
was a
God.
writer.
You'll never find From Guns to God on the shelves anywhere. It didn't make it. It didn't make it. It didn't make it. Number one, a book is supposed to be 80,000 words. So nobody told me. So I was 170,000 words too long. So anyway, at San Quentin, they had opportunities, man. It's an inclusive place. It allows volunteers to come in, donate equipment. And so we got everything: college program, a creative William James creative writing program, and San Quentin News Journalism Guild. And so I got into all these programs to learn how to be a better writer. And I ended up getting a job 3 months off the bus for San Quentin News as a sports writer. And 5 months later, I was a sports editor. 3 years later, I was working on the live shows and working on podcasting with Berkeley Justice Radio Show and Live Law, Life of the Law. And then next thing you know, I was a podcaster with Ear Hustle. Then the next thing you know, I was making documentary films. The next thing you know, the governor gave me a commutation. I finished college, all the stuff in there. I came in with a college degree, rough cuts of films, and a resume, a CV full of I published 41 articles in 31 months with my program Empowerment Avenue, which I also created from a prison cell. And what this program does, it connects incarcerated writers who write at that level with writers on the street who are in the industry and work for really big organizations, Esquire Magazine, Atlantic, big organizations. And these writers on the street help us get past the barriers of getting published, like no submittable, no access to email, all that stuff, not knowing what a publication even wants because you've never seen the publication before. And we've gotten guys in the New York Times, all kinds of stuff. We do the same with art. We get people in gallery exhibits. We get them in museum exhibits. Then we have auctions to sell the art afterwards, after using the momentum of the publicity from the museum exhibit. We just find different ways to get people paid for their work, because I believe that having somebody in prison for 20 or 30 years and then telling them to parole with $40 in a bus ticket after they have nothing on their resume, they've been missing for 30 years, no savings, no 401k, no pension, no car, no home, no clothes, is not public safety. You putting somebody in a damn near homeless position and hoping they make the best choices under the worst circumstances. And most human beings aren't that strong. Most human beings are not stronger than their circumstances. And so I just want to create a world where there's more opportunities than obstacles. And I believe those obstacles need to start pre-entry, because if nobody knows you exist, how you gonna get out sooner? And if you can't help your family, you're a burden to your family, and that endangers them to be the next generation that experiences intergenerational poverty and trauma. And so to break those cycles, we got to start where people are at, and I meet them right there in their cells.
So, you started writing, you started a podcast, started doing everything pre-entry, not re-entry. You got the college degree, sitting in prison. I know you just graduated after you came home, correct?
No, I came on with a associate's degree, and I'm back in school looking for my bachelor's.
Okay. So, since you've been home, well, before you came home, you also linked up with, was she a teacher, the one that you actually ran with, or what was she?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if she's a teacher in the street, but she came in to help teach the journalism guild, long form journalism
Okay, so y'all
at
two
Claire Gilbert.
somehow y'all made a pact, because while you was in there, I think you was running as well on the you did a marathon, correct?
Yeah, I ran 3 halves and then I ran a whole marathon in San Quentin, which is just running circles around a yard 105 times like a maniac.
Okay, so that somehow y'all decided to come up with a pact that if you ever made it home, that y'all would actually run together. Am I correct? Fill me in
Yeah,
on that.
we agreed to run the New York, maybe even the San Francisco marathon together. Because one of my dreams was to walk for Brooklyn to Harlem when I got out. And when I told her about that, she was like, "Yo, you got to experience the New York City Marathon." And I thought she was putting a lot on it, but we made this pact. And when I came home, I was like, all right, start training, man. We made the pact. I'm gonna keep my word. That's how I am. I'm by my word. As they said back in the days, my word is bond.
Word is bond. So you come home. Since you've been home, this is the forward progress. This is the meat of it. Because for me, learning the story of what we do when we come home. A lot of people, they still have stigmas. They still have a lot of things that they say that we don't do. We go back to prison, which to me, I found out that there's more of us that do great things, but it's the narrative is not shown. So the reason why I asked you to come on here is because I wanted to, yes, show them, yes, this is what his past was. Like you said, this doesn't, this isn't your narrative. This isn't what I'm looking for the word that I want to say. This isn't what categorized you is your past. What categorizes you is the man that you became and the man that you are now and where you're going. This is the forward progress step of everything. It's showing what the butterfly does now. Spread your wings. Tell the people what you do. You just gave us at the beginning all the titles that you have. What do you want to see happen with everything that you do, and shed more light on what you do, if you will, for me?
Yeah. So my goal is huge. The dream is probably never gonna happen in my lifetime, but at least make progress towards it. The dream is that there's no more prisons, that we live in a world that's love, man, where we invest. Like people in my neighborhood making in spite of. We shouldn't make it in spite of. We should make it because of, right? It should be way more opportunities than obstacles. And I believe when we invest in people, because the American dollar is not backed by gold and silver, it's backed
No,
by Americans. It's backed by us. And if we invest in us, man, we love on us, we take care of us. I think our country will produce more product, more culture. I mean, so much comes from here in spite of the music, the technology, just so much in spite of, man. Imagine if we invest in and go the other way with it instead of stepping on it and hope it finds its way to grow through the concrete, right?
you was
Uh,
actually invested in, whether it was somebody coming in there and pouring love, enough love to share their talent as far as writing. Because, like you said, you didn't know how to, but you and the lady, that
yeah, that
information, she gave you, God, well, God gave you enough hope through these things that things happen. You got to come home basically way earlier than any man could have ever given you.
yeah, I'm home 33 years early, and what I learned from San Quentin is proof of concept. At one point, there's like they packed that place up to as many as 4,000 people, and the average is 3,000 and something. But at one point, I was there with like about 2,500 men who had life sentences, and it was one of the safest places I've ever been. Even though security wise, they got so many blind spots. When you're on a fifth tier in North Block, West Block, any of them blocks, you on your own. Ain't no safety rails. You could be thrown off the tier. Ain't no SEALs coming up there unless they got a count or pass out mail. You on your own and nothing happens. And so I see what inclusion, being part of society from outside of society, does. I see what therapy does. I see what education does. And I just wish that we had these things before anybody got hurt. right? And our neighbors and before. So the ultimate dream, man, my way of creating this utopia on earth or getting us there is that I want to become a philanthropist. I want to make a feature film that makes so much money I can just fund my own programs. Because in order to keep a Bama Abbey running, I got to keep raising money. And I want my hands in the dirt, man. I want to do the work. I don't want to tap dance all day. But the goal is to have media centers in our neighborhoods that formerly incarcerated people would come home to and work with the youth in the neighborhood. So that way the knowledge of after saves the knowledge the youngsters before anything happens. And at the same time, to keep the pre-entry going. We have guys, already getting jobs from prison, like doing really well. A lady just got a book the other day, 50 G fellowship. I mean, we're killing it. People are going to come home from prison with hundreds, 50 to 100,000 each or more, God willing. And when they come out, they're going to have a CV, a resume full of accomplishments from a cell that are extraordinary, that people out here ain't even doing, right? Book deals from prison. Everybody wants a book deal. She got it. And then I want them to come home to these media center, these spaces, and share their success, share their knowledge, and have a safe place to work and a safe place to be at, where the youth can also conjugate. This is the dream. This is the path that I want to see created. In the meantime, I'm just working on Empowerment Avenue. Just keep bringing guys in prison opportunities, keep getting artists artwork sold. And now we're working with films. I'm making 2 films with currently incarcerated directors, and hopefully break the mold, man. Have somebody that's in prison win a film festival and have to call in for the freaking award ceremony. I mean, that would just be amazing. So these are the dreams I'm working on. And the crazy thing is half these things aren't dreams. Half these things are reality, and they're surpassing what I've expected.
They are reality. Things are happening now. Just to give you an awareness, I know a lady who owns down in Miami or down in Florida, there's a Black Film Festival. I got a number. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make sure that I reach out to her just so that I can link y'all, because the work that you're doing, the stuff that y'all are doing is noteworthy.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
And what God has chosen you to do, that dream ain't far-fetched. Things like this, the reason why I like to say God allowed me to get to meet you was for your story. Not just your story, but for your vision. Because I too believe that if we use our stories enough, a man who had a life sentence, came home 33 years early, decided to use his life as a pinnacle to be a light in the dark world. The youth hearing these stories, not just the youth, the people in prison hearing these stories, it brings them hope to know that they can come home and be a forward progressor or be a light that changes the whole entire system. Because when you see somebody that has changed, it's kind of like watching Jordan. You remember how Jordan hit the court and did things that we had never seen? And then Kobe. Kobe wouldn't have been Kobe without Jordan. Jordan was the greatest, but they got greater. And it was all from seeing an example of what greatness looks like. And if people can see, can you hear me?
Yep, I got you.
I got you. I know you had a call, I guess. If people can see the greatness that's in you and they get to and be inspired by their greatness, what happens is they become even greater. And that's what I want this to do, is to show the greatness that's in you, but inspire somebody else to be just as great.
That's what's up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you no more, but it's okay.
Let me find you. Let me find where the image went. I can't find the image either.
It did it to me earlier, so we okay.
Is it in the text?
Nah, I don't know how to even get it back up, to be honest. So what we'll do, we'll just finish. Oh Lord, did I lose him? I guess it's gone. Hopefully he'll come back up. Here we go.
Man, God is good.
Oh,
so this is different. This is working out at my text. This is a strange app.
Yeah, it is. So I'm assuming I don't know what mark we at, but I do want to thank you for your testimony, for who you have become. I hate that we had to go through to be that caterpillar. Things had to happen, but I do believe that The reason they had to happen is for the youth today, because there was a lot of us that was misled, and the youth now don't have us or didn't have us to be there. Now we're back. We have the examples, and all the venom became the antidote, or became a piece of it, to in order to make the antivenom. And this is what we are. Stories like yours, we get to inspire people who are in Congress and everywhere to say, you know what, they deserve another chance because of these guys. And this is the reason why forward progress is being built, so then we can show not just them but those that's in prison that you can become whatever you want to become. You just got to do the work and put the work in, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's a process. You've been home 9 months, but you've been working on these babies for years. So
Yeah.
if don't nobody else tell you, and I know many people have, congratulations on all your success. And I know that after tonight, one, we're brothers. Look, I promise you, this relationship gonna keep going, because I need you and I need your story. And what we gonna do, we gonna change the world, man.
God willing, we just soldiers, man. God gonna change the world. We just gonna be the arms
Look,
and legs.
he, look, he tells you, the Bible says, let your light so shine among men that they may see your good works, but glorify God which is in heaven. It's never us. It's God giving us the strength to do it, but he uses us to do it. And he done chose you for an appointed time, because otherwise, me and you wouldn't even be talking.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
So, I love you. I love you. I love you. I will make sure that you get this interview as well, because it needs to be spread. The word needs to be spread. But to before I get off here, or before we leave, I do want you to how was the run? Because you actually did that. That became
Yeah.
an accomplishment.
So I'm not gonna lie, the second half of the race was pain for me. I wasn't conditioned for the whole 26, but it was love, man. Like, you go through the boroughs, little kids give you high fives, people hand you refreshments, everybody yelling your name, cheering you on. It is love. I mean, walls of people at certain points in Manhattan and Brooklyn, especially. Oh my God, 405 in Brooklyn. They just line up deep, like it's a rock concert or something. Live bands, DJs. It is the most beautiful. Like, I'm telling you, it's like when I came home, 40 something people were waiting outside. This time it was a whole city. I mean, and remember, I'm from New York, so to be able to go home and experience that was love, man. It is beautiful. I thought this would be my last marathon. I think I might run it again, bro.
You just starting.
It's
Look,
beautiful, man. I heard that there's no other marathon like this though. Like, so I think I gotta just stick to the New York one. Maybe I just try San Francisco, Tokyo, or something. But that experience, you gotta experience it, bro. It's worth getting in shape for. You know what I mean?
if you can inspire somebody, whether they're in prison or out here going through something, what would you tell them?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would tell them that the struggle prepares you for your purpose. Like,
Mm.
everything you've been through, all the pain, it has a reason. If you let it have a reason, if you channel it to purpose, channel your pain to purpose. One of the hardest times for me was during COVID. My family was in New York, dropping like flies, on my father's side, and I didn't know if I was going to live. You know, people around me were disappearing, going to the hole for being sick, and I didn't know if they were coming back. I got COVID. I watched George Floyd die and felt like, damn, they can just murder us in broad day and nobody gonna do nothing. It was just a depressing time, and I had to reframe it, man. When Chadwick Boseman died, they played a commencement speech he did at Howard, and he
Yeah.
talked about how the struggle prepares you for your purpose, and the words got through. It's what I needed to know at that time. And I looked around, and instead of looking at the COVID, the death, and all that, letting the martyrs die in vain, I was like, yo, this is an opportunity. The press can't come in prison right now. They need our voices. And that's how we were able to launch Empowerment Avenue off to a great start. Started off with Business Insider, one of my first articles, first major publications. It was beautiful. And so we turned this pain into a purpose. And now, because of that, a lady just got a 50G book deal. You know what I mean? And
And
so
that's
the
what
pain, the struggle prepares you for your purpose. Use that prison cell for a purpose. You think, look at it as a lockdown. Your mind ain't locked down. Get them books, read, work out, do everything you can to make yourself ready for opportunity, for freedom when it comes. You got to be deserving of it, worthy of it. So do what you need to do, man. It ain't over. You know what I mean? There's life in life, wherever you at.
And you never know what God has for you. Because for you, you didn't know you was coming home, but God, He knew, and He had already prepared you for it. As you said, there's purpose in pain. Thank you, Mr. Thomas, and I want you to know that we will be getting together because it's bigger. It's something bigger for us.
It's all good. I'm in. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Priest.
Look, I love you. I love you. I
Love
love you.
you, bro. One.
Blessings, man.
All right.